journey of discovery. And what I've found so far has changed my life for the better. Yeah, that gnawing feeling, even if things are going well, that something's missing. Most of us are chasing fulfillment, but don't know where to find it. I've had to go on a journey of discovery, and what I've found so far has changed my life for the better. So, what I believe is that every human being wants to be fulfilled. In this modern age, we call it happiness, we call it a bunch of other things, but I think really it's fulfillment. And I believe that because I think that's etched into the very design of our souls. And yeah, that gnawing feeling, even if things are going well, that something's missing. Clearly, if you're in suffering or in the midst of pain, then a lot of things are missing. But yeah, I think I have a formula. I think I have a formula for a whole, fulfilled life. Now, what does that mean? It's not perfect. It's not without suffering. But I'm finding fulfillment in it more and more every single day. Which is why we started our company, Building a Home Inc. Because we believe life is like a house. Proper construction determines the structural integrity of the house. And in 2022, I attempted suicide. And Sean Cannell, Think Media, he helped me tremendously. He says, take success and reverse engineer it. And so when I heard that, an idea popped into my head, and instead what I did was, in the years of my life post-suicide attempt, I've attempted to reverse engineer suicide, reverse engineer collapse. Analyze all the things that I had that was missing that got me to that point, so that not only I would never be there again, but I could take that and pass that on to other people. Now, I don't project myself onto anyone. Suicidal ideation, suicidal thoughts, I definitely had them. I had them a lot due to my circumstances growing up. Yeah, I really didn't want to be here anymore. But I don't know. I never I never attempted it fully in the way that I did when I was 27 years old. Um, Maybe because I was probably too scared. But then when I did it, I realized I wasn't scared to die. I was actually afraid to live, because part of the adventure of living is the unknown. What comes tomorrow? And because I was in lack of so many things, that petrified me. Yeah. I mean, still I get scared. We're all scared of the unknown, I think. But I think there's a way to less and less be scared of it. And so I believe fulfillment to be breaking down into seven things. Seven things. Seven things. And we deliver it at Building a Home Inc. It's called the BHI framework. Constructing your house. And I think it's very useful. And I'm in the process of building my home, as it were. And it's been going great so far. And so not only do I want to document that, but I want to give it to everybody else, because that's part of where I get fulfillment. And so it works like this. You have a foundation, you have a basement, you have a first story, you have a second story, you have an attic, you have a chimney, and you have a skylight. That's the house. Okay? Now to go into the specifics. The foundation, because anyone who's an architect, engineer, builder, you must start at the bottom. You cannot start from the top down. You must start from the bottom up. Because of the foundation, the shaky ground, if it's not secure, yeah, you can construct a house, but eventually, what'll happen? It's going to come down. Or quality of that home is going to be not so good. So I address them ground up. And essentially that's how I started. After my suicide attempt, new life. Ground up. So my foundation, it's love and truth. Why are those synonymous? Because love without truth is tolerance. And truth without love is brutality. And so for me, fulfillment means wholeness. That means there's two sides to every coin. They must come together. So a solid foundation, what your life is built on, must be built on love, which is what sustains, which is what drives, and must be built on truth, what gives meaning. So you have your sustaining, your driving force, your sustaining force, and your why. Because if you have what, which is love, and you have why, which is truth, brings those two things together. Now, me personally, the ultimate force of love in the universe is my relationship with God. I'm not religious. I hate religion, which my definition of religion is this: man's attempt at defining God versus allowing God to define himself to man. My recommendation. So, I've sought God, what that means, if he is a person, and if he is a person, how does he operate, and how I found him to operate in my life as an individual, and I believe as a universal force, is love. Now also, I believe truth. But what I mean by truth is two things. Objective truth, meaning what is objectively true about the universe in general. What can be measured by science. What can be studied. What can be observed. Objective truth, right? Scientific law, right? Laws of gravity, laws of thermal disintegration, right? All of those things. So, objective truth, science, okay? And all branches of science. I think even philosophy is scientific in a sense, even though maybe formally it's not categorized as such, but I believe that to be the case. Objectively truth. And then my truth. Now, your truth cannot compete against what's objectively true. What's objectively true must also be true for you. But what I say when I say my truth, because some people use that terminology, I mean what's true about me. Who I am, why I'm here, the good, the bad, the ugly. What I'm afraid of, what I'm not afraid of, my favorite color, my favorite foods. That's my truth. What's true about me? And I think when you pursue it in that lane, you get wholeness, you get fulfillment. I think if you really want to have the start of a great life, it's understanding love and understanding truth. Okay? The next part is the basement, which is identity and integrity. Who you are, how you act. Why those are synonymous. If who you are does not match with how you act, then you are not living in truth. You're living a lie. You're wearing a mask. And in psychology, they call that cognitive dissonance, where what you believe and what you do are not matching up. And this destroys you. I lived that way for so long. What I believed and what I knew to be true did not match my actions. Okay? Now, integrity is that. So identity is who you are. Integrity is when how you behave is in alignment with who you are as a person. When you have those two things, that's wholeness, right? Each layer is about adding to fulfillment, to wholeness. The first story of the house and about identity, I believe it's something received. Because if you believe in God, then you believe that you were designed. And if you were designed, who you are is tethered into the very essence of your being. So I think you can receive identity, right? And then integrity would be acting that out to the best of your ability all the days of your life till the last day of your life, right? So it's love and truth foundation. Identity and integrity is in the basement. First floor is this: health. And I think health is broken down into two categories: your physical health and your financial health. And I know someone's going to say, oh, but Thomas, what about mental health? Well, if you have love and truth and you have identity and integrity, your mental health is going to be golden. So yes, mental health is a part of it, right? But in this specific instance, our formula, first story, is the place that you live every day, right? Your physical health and your financial health. Now, physical health, what do I mean by that? I mean eating right, exercise, and that's it. Eating right and exercise, right? There's enough empirical scientific evidence out there that if you eat right and you exercise, you'll be physically healthy. Pretty straightforward, right? Financial health. This is where the definition for financial health can really vary per person. But our definition of financial health, because everything builds on top of another, right? So I believe financial health is this. Number one, being on a budget. What does being on a budget mean? John Maxwell says either your money is leading you or you're leading your money. Peace of mind, mental health, right, can come from being on a budget, meaning I know exactly where my money goes, when it goes, and why it goes. I don't have any miscellaneous expenses. Okay? None. Zero. I have a budget that I do on a weekly basis with the wife, right? She gets a big say in the budget. Shout out, ladies. Regardless, we know where our money is going, when it's going there, and why it's going there. Okay? Number two, being debt-free. Okay? When you don't have payments, you have cash. Okay? Now, being rich, it's not a bad goal. Okay? I don't think being rich is bad. But people will be surprised what you can do being debt-free. Imagine you take the median household income in the United States at $75,000 a year. Okay? You divide that by 12. $6,250 a month. If all you have is what they call your four walls, which is your utilities, your food, your car insurance, and your housing, right? So if you own your own home, you're out of debt, great. You don't have to worry about that, right? But if you're renting, rent, utilities, phone, food, right? Those are the four walls. Now we have car insurance, we have gas, right? all things necessary in 2025. But regardless, if you had no debt, if you had no payments that you owed to other people for things that aren't yours yet, okay? You'd be pretty surprised with what you can do with that money. Usually household expenses about 50% of take-home pay. So $6,000, 50% of that is $3,000. If you invested $3,000 a month with an average return of 11 to 9%, let's say, is a varied range, you'd end up somewhere with, one second. Sorry, the missus called. But yeah, anyway, so financial health, budget, debt-free, investing for the future. Those three things. You do those three things, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to be so happy with what you have going on. Trust me. It's just a matter of getting there. Now, my wife and I, we're working on first story. Physical health. I work out 3 days a week. I walk every day for 30 minutes. And I eat right. I train a little bit. I'm not end product yet, but it's a journey. I'm on my way there. Okay? Financial health. Same thing. I'm on a budget, getting debt free, and I'm investing for the future. On my way there. And it feels great. Feels great. Now the next thing is your vocation. Okay? Here's what I believe your vocation to be. It's broken down into three things. What you do in service to others for free, what you do in service to God for free, and what you do in service to others that you get paid for. I think if your vocations are those three things, then you're fulfilled. Plain and simple. Now, how you find your vocation, we break it down into four things. Okay? Number one, bring who you are into what you do. One of the biggest things we have to start combating now is people getting their identity from what they do. The problem with that is if you don't do that thing, or you can't do that thing anymore, you die along with it. Big problem. So you don't get your identity from what you do. You bring who you are into what you do. That's why it's vocations. And you can have more than one vocation, multiple things, right? Service for free, service to God, service you get paid for, right? Multiple vocations. But number one is you bring who you are into what you do. Number two, you take the worst thing or things that have ever happened to you. Why? Pain is an adhesive. Suffering becomes service. One thing that is unique about human beings is that we connect over suffering. Empathy, not sympathy, empathy. I feel exactly what you feel right now because I've been in that exact same situation. So pain is an adhesive. Okay? The third thing is your childhood dream. What do I mean by that? The things that you wanted to do growing up before pain or trauma or life changed them. So for me, growing up, I wanted to be a paleontologist. Okay? But what I realized is it was the characteristics of paleontology that I was attracted to. Because inherently, I believe I'm designed, and that design is part of who I am. And so the only way your childhood brain can interpret characteristics and attributes is by assigning it a job. So my favorite thing, the thing I wanted to be growing up, was a paleontologist. Discovery, adventure, bravery, analysis, digging up, history, shaped who I am now, which is an excavator of hearts. I love helping people dig up their bones, analyze it, and use it for the common good. Good for that person and good for others. I love doing it, right? And then number 4 is in service to others. When you have those 4 things, who you are, your worst pains, your childhood dreams, and in service to others, that's fulfillment. Okay? I think if you have all of those things and you apply them to your vocations, you'll be whole, fulfilled. Next is the attic. Above the second story of the house, the attic. The attic is reserved for hobbies. What you love to do with the people you love doing it with. Very simple. What you love to do with the people you love doing it with. Why? Because joy is a requirement. It's not an if. It's not a maybe. It's a requirement. You must reserve time for joy. Otherwise, eventually, you will collapse. Now, does that mean you cannot find joy in what you do? Yes, absolutely. But Harvard did the longest happiness study. It's ongoing. It started in 1938. And it's not money. It's not fame. It's relationships. Okay? 1938 to present. Okay? Almost 100 years of human data. We're off by 13 years. So 87 years of human data tells us that relationships are the key to happiness. So that's why we created that attic as hobbies. The things you love to do with the people you love doing them with. Plain and simple. The next part is the chimney. Every good house has a chimney. Why? Because it releases smoke. You get rid of all the people and all of the things that don't serve you on your path to wholeness. What do I mean? Resentment. Resentment and unforgiveness is swallowing a poison pill, hoping the person that hurt you dies. But who ends up dying? You. You die. We're not excusing them for what they've done. Because if someone's harmed you, and if someone's harmed you deeply, 9 times out of 10, they don't deserve forgiveness. But forgiveness is about freeing yourself. Because if they're able to make you hold on to resentment for the rest of your life, you're a slave to that person. They now have control over you. And wholeness only comes from being free. Let them go. I had a very abusive biological father. I had to learn to forgive him. Sometimes I still do, as things come up. As I work on myself, as I journey in life, things come up. But he won't define me. The things that have been done to me won't define me. My errors won't define me. They're lessons that allow me to serve others, serve my family, and be whole. Okay? Now, people. On your journey to wholeness, there's going to be people who disagree with you. And it's going to be hard, but knowing when to say goodbye is always going to be better than knowing when to say hello. I've held on to people because of my abuse that I experienced as a child, because I was afraid to be alone. But that person was destroying me and isolating me and keeping me from the path that I was meant to be on. I've had that relationship with many people. Alex Hormozy says, never take the advice or critique from a person who does not look like the person that you want to become. If they're not on the path that you're on, you don't need them. Period. End of story. You don't need that person. And you can let them go. And it doesn't have to be some crazy thing. It could be amicable. The harder conversations are the ones that end in peace usually. Saying, listen, I appreciate it, but we're not on the same path. I don't bring value into your life. You don't bring value into my life. It's time we part ways. That's it. Simple. Doesn't have to be crazy. It can be simple. And the last thing is the Skylight, which is light into the home. Because all of these rooms can operate. They can operate well. But darkness is where fungus and mold grows. So you want to be in the light. Have a relationship with the divine. And utilize wisdom. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is being able to classify a tomato as a fruit. Wisdom is knowing not to put a tomato in a fruit salad. That's what the Skylight is. And the more wisdom you have, the brighter these rooms can shine. And it's an ongoing journey, forever and ever and ever. But there is wholeness available, and there is fulfillment available. This has been Thomas Emmanuel Orms-OBrien. Love you guys.